Well, it could be an unintended tragic result of the Iranian nuclear deal. Tehran announcing it has executed a prominent nuclear scientist. He was hanged. Iran saying he provided the U.S. with important information about that country's disputed nuclear program. U.S. officials telling the Associated Press 40-year-old Shawn Amiri fled to our country and was paid $5 million for information about the program back in 2009. But the very next year, in 2010, he returned home to Iran, publicly claiming he was actually kidnapped by the U.S. government. Others say he went home because the Iran regime threatened his family. Why was Amiri, who apparently helped us, put to death? What does this mean going forward? Congressman Lee Zeldin joins us. He's a Republican of New York and member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, this is so sad, so shocking, and just astounding. Do you think that Shawn Amiri was basically left out in the cold?
Well, this is a pretty fascinating story. The most recent email that with Jake Sullivan and Hillary Clinton into that private email server, by the way, that was unclassified, talks about how Amiri may have went into the Iranian interest section of the Pakistani embassy in Washington, D.C., and went there on his own for whatever reason. Maybe he was impatient, needed to get back to Iran. This is a fascinating story that hopefully we get a little bit more information than what we've had already, but it's almost like made for a movie.
Yeah, talk about that email. Jake Sullivan was one of the aides to Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. This is 2010, and the Associated Press does have several emails from Sullivan to the Secretary of State in 2010 at that time, talking about this case, apparently. Here is one of the AP emails that they quote. The gentleman, meaning him, has apparently gone to his country's interest section because he is unhappy with how much time it has taken to facilitate his departure. This could lead to problematic news stories in the next 24 hours. I mean, it almost seems that they're more concerned about the publicity and the public impact of this case. Earlier, John Bolton was on, the former UN ambassador, asked him about this. He had been a State Department official. He said, well, you really can't, stop someone from going back home, even though he helped us. But what do you make of this type of email when they're talking about, public impact?
Well, it shows you where their priorities are at that particular moment. But there's a few different issues here at play. One is why are these emails being sent unclassified? Why is there a private email server in the home of the Secretary of State? Why were these emails released as unclassified emails? Because it's talking about hanging this man out to dry. The fact is these emails seem to be very incriminating, referring to him as a friend, not Sullivan's email, but an email from the special envoy. And it's not too complicated to put these pieces together if you're the Iranians. And it has a very chilling effect on American national security. If anyone else wants to be helpful, to cooperate, they don't want to see this happen to them, and that carelessness at the State Department in many fashions displayed in this particular case has a chilling effect on people helping us in the future.
Yeah, I mean, look, you raise a great point. I mean, let's say he is a spy. Let's say he flees here, and he did live here for some period of time, paid reportedly $5 million for this nuclear information. He helps us, and the Iranians, what do? All they got to do is read the emails. They apparently have breadcrumbs right to his doorstep. Maybe they threatened his family then, and so he has to go back to Iran. First he's hailed as a hero, and then now this.
Yeah, and something else that's telling on top of this all, the Iranians, when they putting out a statement with regards to this execution, it's important for us here at home when we're trying to understand the Iranian mentality. There have been some Americans who have praised that the Iranians have elected some of the most moderate members in their most recent election. The first point is it's important, and it's worth noting that the 12,000 most moderate candidates on the ballot weren't even allowed access to the ballot come Election Day. Secondly, though, the statement that they put out refers to America as our hostile #1 enemy, the Great Satan. So I mean, from that standpoint, it's also very important for Americans to realize exactly how the Iranians view us. This has a chilling effect within their own country and for other countries and potential help as well in the future.
Yeah, and also very quickly, let me read you what the National Council of Resistance of Iran says about this. They are the leading opposition group, the largest, and they hit that moderation aspect exactly. Amiri's execution is a desperate attempt by the Supreme Leader Khamenei to intimidate and terrorize the regime's nuclear experts and scientists and to prevent them from leaving the country after the nuclear deal. Engulfed in a serious domestic and external crisis and facing growing popular discontent and opposition at home, the regime has had to deal with unprecedented defections within its own ranks. What better way to silence your nuclear scientists than to kill one of them?
Yeah, and there are millions of Iranians who, back in 2009, took to the streets trying to protest an undemocratic election then when we said it was none of our business. We are propping up the wrong regime right now with this Iran nuclear agreement, with the cash ransom that was paid for American hostages, with our tolerance with them financing terror and overthrowing foreign governments. So all of this evidence with regards to this regime, the statement that you point out, and there are other opposition groups as well that talk about a future of a free, democratic, stable Iran. That's the regime we should be propping up, the one that wants to reform and modernize Iran, not this one.
Yeah, well, the White House, of course, would take exception to you calling it a ransom. They say it wasn't, but, you know, it's 400 million Swiss euros and Swiss francs and euros.
Yeah, they'd want to call it coincidence.
And an airplane in the dead of night. Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin from Long Island, thank you so much, as always, for joining us here on the Fox News Channel, of course.